Agnes Murphy woke to the sound of small feet crossing the bridge above her head. 6 sets of footsteps, moving careful and quiet like they didn't want to wake the dead. She pressed deeper into the concrete shadows, pulling her torn coat around shoulders that hadn't stopped shaking in 3 days. November cold bit through every layer she owned, which wasn't much. "Ma'am!" A child's voice called down to the bridge planks. "We can see you down there." Agnes closed her eyes. "Go away. We're not going to hurt you. Don't want any trouble. Neither do we." 6 girls appeared at the bridge's edge, ranging from maybe 8 years old to 16. All blonde, all thin, all wearing clothes that had seen better seasons. They climbed down the embankment like they'd done it before, moving with the careful grace of children who'd learned to be quiet. "You're Mrs. Murphy," the oldest girl said. Agnes sat up straighter. "How do you know my name?" "We asked around town. People said your husband died in the mine collapse. Said the bank took your house last month. Said you've been sleeping rough since then." Agnes pulled her knees to her chest. "What do you want?" The girls looked at each other, some silent conversation passing between them. The oldest stepped forward. "I'm Sarah. These are my sisters." "Half-sisters," one of the younger ones corrected. "Same father, different mothers." "Where are your mothers now?" Agnes asked. "Dead," Sarah said simply. "Car accidents, mostly. Some got sick. Some just left." Agnes felt coldness that had nothing to do with the weather. "Where's your father?" The girls went quiet. Sarah looked at the ground. "Gone," she said finally. "Gone where?" "Just gone. 3 months now." "Who's taking care of you?" "We take care of ourselves." Agnes studied their faces, seeing something that didn't belong in children's eyes. Knowledge. The kind that came from watching things children shouldn't see. "Why are you here?" "We need help," Sarah said. "What kind of help?" "The kind only a grown woman can give." "I don't have any money." "We don't want money." "Then what?" "We want you to be our mama." Agnes stared at them. "What did you say?" "Our mama," the smallest girl repeated. "Just for a while." "We got a farmhouse," Sarah explained. "Big place, plenty of rooms. Food in the pantry. Wood for the fire. All you got to do is live with us and be our mama when people ask." Agnes felt her heart hammering. "Why me?" "Because you got nowhere else to go. Because you need us as much as we need you. Because you look like someone who knows how to keep secrets." That last part made Agnes' skin crawl. "What kind of secrets?" The girls exchanged another look. The second oldest, maybe 14, spoke up. "People been coming around," she said, "asking questions about Papa. About the property. About us." "What kind of people?" "Men in suits," Sarah said. "Government types. Mining company folks. Lawyers." Agnes pulled her coat tighter. "What do they want?" "They say Papa owed money. Say the farm belongs to them now. Say we can't stay without a legal guardian. So you need a woman to pretend to be your mother." "Not pretend," Sarah said. "Be." "What happened to your other guardians?" The girls went quiet again. The youngest started crying silently, tears running down dirty cheeks. "We had an aunt," Sarah said slowly. "Aunt Rebecca. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. Then she disappeared." "What do you mean disappeared?" "Gone one morning. Left all her things. Car still in the driveway. Never came back." Agnes felt ice in her stomach. "Anyone else?" "Family friend named Mrs. Chun. She lasted 3 days. Social worker came after that. Miss Rodriguez. She made a whole week." "Where did they go?" "We don't know." "They just leave?" "All of them." "Mrs. Chun left a note," Sarah said. "Said she had to go take care of her sick mother. But Mrs. Chen's mother been dead for years. Miss Rodriguez said she got transferred to another county. But her supervisor said she never showed up for work." Agnes looked at the 6 girls, seeing desperation behind their careful calm. Children who'd learned to survive on their own, who knew more about adult dangers than any child should. "This is insane," she said. "Yes, ma'am." You're asking me to walk into whatever happened to those other women. Yes, ma'am. Why would I do that? Sarah looked up at the bridge, then back at Agnes. Because it's going to snow tonight. Because you ain't got no coat that'll keep you warm. Because you ain't eaten in 3 days. Because we got a warm house and hot food, and nobody asking questions about where you came from or where you been. Agnes looked at her hands, blue with cold, shaking despite her efforts to hold them still. 3 women had tried to help these girls. 3 women had vanished. But winter was coming, and she was die by degrees under this bridge. What makes you think I'll last longer than the others? Maybe you won't, Sarah said honestly. But maybe you will. Maybe you're tougher. Maybe you got less to lose. Agnes stood up slowly, bones creaking from cold and hard ground. The girls watched her with eyes that seemed far too old for their faces. If I come with you, she said, and if I disappear like the others, what happens to you? We keep trying, Sarah said. Keep looking for someone strong enough to stay. Someone smart enough to survive. Agnes looked back at the concrete space that had been her home for 2 weeks. Cold, brutal, offering nothing but slow death. Then she looked at 6 children who might be her salvation or her doom. Show me this house. The farmhouse sat 3 miles from town, hidden behind a grove of dying oak trees. Paint peeled from weathered siding like dead skin. Windows stared out at empty fields with a hollow look of abandoned places. Agnes followed the 6 girls up creaking porch steps, her few belongings clutched in a paper bag. Home sweet home, Sarah said, pushing open the front door. Inside, the house felt too quiet. Dust motes danced in afternoon light, streaming through cracked glass. Furniture sat covered in white sheets like ghosts waiting for resurrection. Nobody's lived here since Papa left. Agnes asked. We live here, the smallest girl said. Emma means grown-ups, Sarah corrected. We don't count as people to most folks. Agnes walked to the front room, noting family photographs turned face down on the mantelpiece. Why are these pictures hidden? Makes people ask questions, Sarah said. What kind of questions? About who's buried in our cemetery. Agnes stopped walking. Your what? Family cemetery. Out back behind the barn. Show me. Sarah led Agnes through the kitchen to a back door that opened onto overgrown pastureland. 100 yards away, weathered headstones jutted from tall grass like broken teeth. How many graves? Agnes asked. 16, Sarah said. Been in our family for generations. When was the last burial? The girls went quiet. Sarah looked at her sisters, then back at Agnes. 3 weeks ago. Agnes felt cold settle in her bones. Who died? Miss Rodriguez, the social worker. I thought you said she got transferred. That's what we told people. But she's buried in your cemetery? Yes, ma'am. Agnes backed toward the house, her heart racing. What happened to her? Same thing that happened to Aunt Rebecca, and Mrs. Chan, and Miss Patterson before that. How many women have tried to help you? 7 in the past 2 years, Sarah said. Since Mama died. All of them ended up in the ground. Agnes reached the kitchen door, hand trembling on the handle. Who killed them? Nobody killed them, Sarah said. Then how did they die? They just died. Natural causes, the doctor said. All of them. Heart attacks, mostly. Some had accidents. Fell downstairs or hit their heads. Agnes looked at the 6 girls, seeing something terrible in their 2 old eyes. You knew this would happen to me. We hoped it wouldn't. But you knew it might. Yes, ma'am. Agnes turned to run, but the youngest girl, Emma, stepped in front of the door. Don't leave us, Emma whispered. Please, said another. We need you. You need me dead, Agnes said, just like the others. We don't want anyone to die, Sarah said, but they keep coming. Who keeps coming? The Hartwell family. They own the mining company. They want our land. Papa owned mineral rights. Coal mostly. Some copper. Worth millions. Agnes pressed her back against the kitchen wall. So they kill anyone who might legally protect you. Legal guardians can fight them in court. Dead women can't. But we're still minors. We can't inherit anything without a guardian. So they keep the land in legal limbo until we turn 18. By then, we'll be dead too. Agnes looked out at the cemetery, understanding dawning cold and terrible. They've been picking off your protectors one by one. Yes, ma'am. And you helped them do it. Sarah's face crumpled. We don't want to. But if we don't bring them new guardians, they'll kill us right away. At least this way, we get to live a little longer. Get to hope someone will be strong enough to survive, smart enough to fight back. Agnes stared at the 6 children who had lured her into a death trap with promises of warmth and food. They were victims too, caught between certain death and the slim hope that someone might save them. How do they do it? She asked. The Hartwells. Poison mostly, Sarah said. In the food, the water. Sometimes they stage accidents. Car brakes fail on the way to town. Women fall down wells. House fires in the middle of the night. Agnes looked at the kitchen, at the stove and sink and cabinets that might already contain her death. Why tell me this? Because maybe you're different. Maybe you'll find a way to beat them. Maybe you'll save us all. Agnes laughed, but the sound came out broken. I'm a homeless widow with nothing left to lose. What makes you think I can fight the Hartwell family? Because you got nothing left to lose, Sarah said. Because sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones with nothing left. Because you've been surviving when other people would have given up. Agnes looked out the window at the cemetery, where 7 women lay buried. 7 women who had tried to help 6 orphan girls. 7 women who had died for the crime of caring. When do they usually strike? First week, Sarah said. They like to let new guardians settle in, feel safe. Get comfortable. Let their guard down. Agnes walked to the kitchen window, studying the tree line for watchers. They know I'm here already? They know everything that happens in this county. They got people everywhere. Sheriff, judges, doctors. All of them on the Hartwell payroll. Agnes turned back to the girls, seeing her own death reflected in their frightened faces. But she also saw something else. Hope, desperate, fragile, probably doomed, but real. How long do I have? Maybe a week. Maybe less if you try to leave. Maybe more if you're careful. Agnes sat down at the kitchen table, surrounded by 6 children who had traded her life for their temporary survival. Outside, shadows lengthened across the cemetery, where her predecessors waited in the ground. 7 women had failed to save these girls. Maybe 8 would be lucky enough to succeed, or unlucky enough to join them. Agnes spent the night digging, not her own grave, but the graves of 7 women who had died protecting 6 girls who knew too much. Sarah held the flashlight while Agnes worked, her hands raw and bleeding from the shovel handle. There, Agnes said, pointing to a metal box she'd unearthed from Miss Rodriguez's grave. Same as the others. Evidence, Sarah whispered. Letters, photographs, recordings. Everything they collected before the Hartwells killed them. Agnes pried open the box, revealing documents that proved murder, conspiracy, and 20 years of stolen land. Your father knew, didn't he? That's why they killed him too. Papa tried to expose them. Tried to get help from the state police. They shot him and buried him in the woods. Made it look like he ran off. Dawn crept over to the farmhouse as Agnes and the girls carried 7 boxes of evidence to the kitchen table. Photographs of bodies, recorded confessions, bank records showing payoffs to corrupt officials. This is enough to destroy the Hartwells, Agnes said. If we live long enough to use it, Sarah replied. Car engines rumbled in the distance. Multiple vehicles approaching fast on the dirt road. Agnes looked out the kitchen window, counting headlights cutting through morning mist. 5 trucks, she said. 20 men, maybe more. All armed. They're early, Sarah said. Usually wait a full week. Maybe they got impatient. Agnes looked at the 6 girls, seeing fear and resignation in their faces. Children who had watched this pattern repeat 7 times, who expected to die this morning like all the others. Not this time. Agnes said, What do you mean? This time we fight back. She opened the gun cabinet in the corner, pulled out hunting rifles and shotguns left behind by the girl's father. Agnes checked the ammunition, her hand steady despite the approaching danger. You know how to shoot? Sarah asked. My husband taught me. Can you kill a man? We're about to find out. Trucks surrounded the farmhouse, engines cutting off in practiced silence. Men climbed out, spreading around the property like they'd done this before. Agnes recognized their leader from photographs in the evidence boxes. Marcus Hartwell, heir to the mining fortune built on stolen land and buried women. Agnes Murphy. Marcus called from the yard. Come out, and let's talk about this reasonable-like. Agnes opened the front door, rifle visible in her hands. Nothing to talk about. Sure there is. You're trespassing on Hartwell property. This is Murphy land. Been in their family for generations. Not according to the county records. According to the forged county records. Marcus stepped closer, confident in his overwhelming force. You're making this harder than it needs to be, Mrs. Murphy. Could have been quick and painless. Heart attack in your sleep. Like the others? Like all the others. But you had to go digging where you don't belong. Agnes raised her rifle, pointing it at Marcus's chest. I found what you buried. Found what? Evidence. 7 boxes of it. Proof of murder, conspiracy, theft. Pictures of bodies. Recordings of confessions. Marcus's confidence flickered. You're bluffing. Sarah, Agnes called. Show Mr. Hartwell what we found. Sarah appeared in the doorway, holding a photograph of Marcus standing over Miss Rodriguez's body. The image was clear, detailed, damning. Miss Rodriguez was very thorough, Sarah said. Had a hidden camera in her car. Recorded everything before you killed her. Same with Mrs. Chun and Aunt Rebecca. 7 women, 7 boxes of evidence. Marcus pulled his gun, but Agnes was ready. Her first shot took him in the shoulder, spinning him around. His men raised their weapons, but the girls were already in position at windows throughout the house. Federal marshals are on their way. Agnes shouted to the armed men. Evidence has been sent to the state attorney general. FBI's got copies too. Y'all can stay and die, or leave and maybe see prison instead. One by one, the men began backing toward their trucks. Without Marcus giving orders, without certainty of success, they weren't willing to die for Hartwell money. This ain't over, Marcus gasped, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Yes, it is, Agnes replied. Sirens wailed in the distance. Federal vehicles crested the hill, blue lights flashing through morning mist. The surviving Hartwell men scattered like roaches in sudden light. Agnes sat on the farmhouse steps as FBI agents arrested Marcus Hartwell. The 6 girls gathered around her, no longer orphans, no longer victims. They had found something stronger than blood family in the crucible of shared survival. What happens now? Emma asked. Now you inherit what's rightfully yours, Agnes said. All of us. All of us. Sarah leaned against Agnes's shoulder. You staying, if you'll have me, not as our fake mama, as our real one. Agnes looked out at the cemetery where 7 women rested in peace at last, their sacrifice finally meaning something. She thought of her dead husband, of the life she'd lost, of the new life she'd found in 6 children who needed her as much as she needed them. Real mothers don't abandon their daughters, she said, even when it's dangerous. Especially then. The sun climbed higher, burning away the mist that had hidden the farmhouse's secrets for so long. Agnes Murphy and her 6 daughters walked back into their home, carrying evidence boxes and rifles and the knowledge that some families are chosen rather than born. Behind them, the cemetery stood quiet in morning light. 7 women had died protecting these children. The 8th had lived to see them free. The cycle was broken. The mothers who stayed had finally won.